welcome to the Crooked Letter Sports Podcast, the show about Mississippi sports and the folks who play them. I'm Tyler Cleveland, joined as always by my co-host and dad, Rick Cleveland of Mississippi Today. Dad, have a good weekend?
I had a so-so weekend. I'm more interested to hear about Jazz Fest, which is where you spent your weekend.
Yeah, made my annual pilgrimage down there. You know, I was telling somebody, it's really cool of them to have all that good music at that food festival. You know, I spent most of my time in front of the stage, but when I wasn't, man, we ate like champs. We had the crawfish Monica and the crawfish strudel and the the bananas Foster cheesecake.
What did you go for? The soft shell crab po' boy?
I mean, how do you? I don't know how am I supposed to have room for that? I ate.
You make room for that.
Well, I did as best I could, and spent the GDP of a small country to get it, and it was fantastic. I will say, Pearl Jam is incredible. Eddie Vedder is a living rock star, like one of the few remaining in that genre at this point. He has big Bruce Springsteen vibes.
Yeah, but you know what I always enjoy about Jazz Fest is the little acts that you run across that you'd never heard of, and they're just fantastic.
Brother, the mariachi band in the Viva Mexico tent was incredible. I mean, one of the coolest things I've seen. Spent a lot of time in the gospel and blues tent as well. You know, people you've never heard of, and just put on incredible shows at that event. Also nice to get out of the sun sometimes.
Yes.
So there's that. Yeah, it's festival season. What can I say? We had a blast down there. Dad, we got a very special guest today. Andrew Abadie from the Pine Belt News going to join us. I think he's got about a million things going on right now, so really grateful of him to make some time for us. He's going to give us an update on USM baseball and football. He's got Bobby Halford at William Carey with a milestone win, and I believe he's got 6 or 7 teams still alive.
And he does, shout out to him, he does a great job of covering that part of the state.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's a one-man game.
I will say Andrew's got one great stringer, and that's our mutual friend Stan Caldwell, who also, I'm talking about my experience, you could send Stan to a Hattiesburg homeschool versus the Laurel homeschool baseball, and he will give you a fantastic story. So both of those guys, and Andrew running the show and Stan still writing, they really do a good job. Before we get into it, Dad, just some notes from over the weekend. What a difference a week makes for Mississippi State. They fire Coach Chris Lemonis early in the week and proceed to win a midweek game over Memphis and then sweep Kentucky in the weekend series. Do you think that is more circumstantial or
some of both?
Yeah.
It's baseball,
Right.
It's baseball. I mean, there's not to say that they wouldn't have swept Kentucky with Chris Lemonis,
right. But
I mean, they did what they had to do to get back in the discussion about getting in the tournament. I mean, their RPI would have them in the tournament, but they got to pile up some SEC wins. That's what they got to do. And you know what that starts with. They play Ole Miss this weekend.
Man, what a huge series.
Yeah.
You going to go up?
You know where we're going to be.
Oh, that's right. We're going to be in New Orleans this weekend.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
This will be 3 out of 4 weekends for me. I'm living right. It's spring. It must be springtime.
Well, everybody knows it's an extension of Mississippi anyway.
That's right. In other news, I think Southern Miss is they've reached 9 games on their winning streak. They're going on a little bit of a tear. We'll talk to Abadie about that. And Ole Miss still alive on the hosting bubble, huh?
That bubble's getting a lot less substantial.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, they really need to play well at Starkville this week.
Well, that's why it's a huge series. Dad, we got some sad news with the passing of Ripley baseball coach Joel Gafford, whose team you and I both covered in the state championship last year when Ty Long took them to the brink of a championship in that epic series with Summerall. Gafford began his tenure at Ripley in 2011. He was 40 years old, so just a sad situation there. Just I guess thoughts are with the Ripley baseball community, which is a fantastic program, and I think he had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I remember him telling me that last year that Ty Long was a once-in-a-lifetime player for a coach. I wasn't thinking in these terms.
Yeah, I know. Sad situation, but hearts go out to them. Dad, without further ado, let's get into it with today's guest, Andrew Abadie of the Pine Belt News, Hub City Spokes. I don't know what we're supposed to call it, but this man is one of the hardest working in show business in Mississippi. Andrew, you've got a million things going on this spring. USM baseball is just about in full bloom. You've got a new football coach in town getting ready for their going through their first spring practices. You've got Bobby Halford eclipsing Ron Polk for the all-time college baseball wins list. And I think you've got approximately 1 million teams still alive in the state playoffs. How you holding up, man?
We're taking it day by day, and I'd like to add, I do cover Pearl River Community College, although not as closely as I would have liked, but they're number 2 in the country and probably going to go to the World Series. So let's just add that in there while we're at it.
Why not? So, Andrew, I'm glad we got you in here today. We always like having you on the show. We've got, I guess, we just start with USM baseball. The season, there were really high expectations going into it. And early on, it looked like the bullpen particularly was going to be a pretty big problem. But it seems they've pretty much solidified. I want to say they've won, as of this past weekend, 9 in a row now?
That's correct. 9 in a row.
So kind of give us the lay of the land there and what you see for this team. I mean, is there any chance they can fight their way back into maybe a host bid or are they looking for a conference championship? What are we looking for here?
Yeah, so I'm skeptical of them getting in the host conversation. They would have to win out, which, I mean, you still have a really tough series with Troy, and then I would think you'd have to run into Coastal Carolina, who I think is going to host no matter what. And knowing how the NCAA works, I just don't see them giving 2 Sunbelt teams hosting sites. But also, I think, they're 2 games behind Coastal in the regular season standing, and it's a tragedy that they don't get to play. I don't know why the Sun Belt sets it up that way for their best teams to play each other. That's a conversation for another day and a gripe for another day. But in the last few years, I think 2 years that Southern Miss has been in the hosting conversations, they have not hosted without winning the regular season title. You go back to 2022, they won the regular season title. 23, 24, they won the tournament, didn't win the regular season title. They need Coastal to slip up if they want to have a chance, I think. But you never know. They could win out and do some serious damage in the RPI, but they're still kind of just outside the realm of hosting in terms of RPI as well.
While on Southern Miss baseball, Andrew, J.B. Middleton is becoming really, really special, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I knew he was going to be really good, and we've seen some really great pitchers, particularly in the last 3 or 4 years. And, he's right there with them. We knew he was capable of such things, but the jump he made from last year to this year is incredible. Now they're talking about, just last night, I think one of the MLB draft podcasts has him going as the number 4 or number 5 overall college pitcher in the upcoming draft, which would, put him in the first or second round, which, I mean, it's a testament to what he's been able to do this year. I mean, his fastball is filthy. He's got a filthy slider. And I mean, he's been close to unhittable in the last 3 weeks.
Well, it all starts with locating that fastball. I remember last year when he switched from primarily throwing the 4-seam to the 2-seam fastball, things just kind of started, and he hadn't stopped since then. I keep hearing he may get to the end of the first round, maybe even up into the late middle.
Yeah, I've seen that, and that'd be. I think that would put the Hattiesburg area with the possibility of having three guys, if I count JoJo and Jacob Parker for Purvis. There could be three as many as four guys taken in the first three rounds of this year's MLB draft from the area, which is absurd. There's quite no other way to word it.
Yeah. What are you hearing about Monastery as far as the draft?
From what I've heard, so he's on the draft board. I think he'll go kind of mid 10 to 12 right now. If he keeps surging the way he was, I'm sure he could get higher, but I think he'll be in around that 9-10 day two range. But I suspect he's going in the draft, and they're going to lose him. But I kind of expected that when he came on campus, and year three was going to roll around for him. But that's one. And I think Kobe Allen is another that has a really good shot to get drafted. It'd be in the lower end of the draft, and I think there'd be a chance he comes back, but just depends on what the money is.
Well, you lose all your leverage if you you got basically. I mean, this third year, if there are exceptions. What Mangum did at Mississippi State when he came back, because he said, he wanted to win a College World Series, which didn't happen, but he went.
Got damn close.
Yeah. But again, he was a guy whose family had some money, and he didn't need the money. And I don't pretend to know about the Southern guys.
Well, I think probably the best one to look at is Hunter Stanley, who was an incredible pitcher at USM, came from Meridian Community College. He gets taken as a closer in the lower ends of the draft, if I remember correctly, or he might have had undrafted free agent opportunities as a third year guy, and decides to come back. He becomes a starter and gets taken much higher in the draft, and I think he's in AAA ball now for the Cleveland Guardians. So and that's a testament to Oz and his development and that kind of thing. So maybe that works out for Kobe. Who knows? I think right now, though, people just got to enjoy what they're doing on the field right now.
Yeah, they've got a really good team, and it looks like they're getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, I want to leave college baseball. Let's move across town to William Carey, though, who, it's a program that we don't talk much about. It feels like they kind of are the stepchild down there in Hattiesburg, but they are just that baseball program has been humming along for decades under Bobby Halford. When I worked at the American, I covered Bobby Halford, milestone wins. I think it's a rite of passage if you used to if you covered the Hattiesburg area. But you got a special one. He picked up win number 1,374.
Jesus.
Which is, it was enough to pass Ron Polk for the all-time winningest college baseball coach at any level. So, I mean, kind of tell me about this experience of covering him, and can you give us any insight into Bobby and how he's been so successful for so long?
Yeah, 1,374 and counting. He's picked up two more since. They fell short in the conference championship game, but they're going to host a regional for a third straight year. So it's not like he's fallen off in any way. I think the most interesting thing with Bobby, first of all, who is an awesome human being. You would never know he's got all these baseball accomplishments. But, he took over the program. I'm working on a story about it. It'll probably come out later this week. Took over the program in 1986. The program had its second ever losing season at that point, and they have not had a losing season since. It's just pure consistency. And his teams have been, some years they're incredible hitting teams, some years they're great pitching teams. I've seen both in my short time of watching his career. But, this year's team, they can really mash. I think what's been kind of fun for me is it's been a few local guys in the Hattiesburg area that have been the biggest impacts. Pedals, Bobby McGee, Oak Grove's DJ Booth, who's had kind of a crazy career. He was going to get taken in the MLB draft the COVID year, and then his life kind of changed, and he's been incredible for them this year. So I mean, it's just, Bobby has a way of just finding local guys and winning. That's probably what makes it so remarkable. But, I think there's a really good chance they get back to Idaho for a third straight year. And you never know. I mean, I hope to see, and as a reporter, I try and stay objective, but it'd be fun to really cover Bobby Halford finally getting his eluded national title.
I actually covered William Carey winning the national baseball title.
In 1969.
1969, John O'Keefe was the coach. A bunch of Hattiesburg guys at that time. Well, Hattiesburg and Petal, Junior Broom and Big Jim Smith. What
was Petal incorporated then?
I don't even know. I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing: they could have been incorporated just in baseball. I mean, they were just. Well, they've always been good in baseball. Mm-hmm. I remember even going back to Little League, whenever we had to play Petal in the district tournament, they always kicked our butt.
It's pretty bad.
I know, it is. But, if you're going to be a college baseball coach or a junior college baseball coach.
Not a bad spot to be one.
Hattiesburg's a pretty good area to be. There's so much great baseball around there.
I think it's too good this year. I don't have enough of me to cover it all adequately. So, we cover Lamar and Forest County. And if I count softball teams, I have 8 teams playing in South State or the MAIS state semifinals. And I with the rain coming in this week, I don't know what's going to happen. So it's a fun area to cover. I mean, I've watched so many great athletes. I'd argue Purvis might have the best team I will ever see. I think if this was 4 or 5 years ago, there's 61 guys on their team. Just with how the portals changed everything. And you go down to Oak Grove and you got EJ Booth, who's probably going to get taken in next year's draft, with Maddox Miller, who's going to Mississippi State. You go down to Petal, Tanner Beliveau, who they took Oak Grove to really the wire in a 2-game series in the second round of 7A. And then you go down to Sacred Heart, who's having an incredible year with Larry Watkins, who, as you know, turned Petal into a powerhouse. He's got them in South State. They're going to take on Taylorsville, and then PCS might have a chance to go back to the state championship. And then, oh, by the way, Little Lamar Christian is making a run in their league, and they're in the state semifinals for that realm. And, you add Purvis and Petal softball to the mix. They're both playing for in South State. So there's no rest for the weary here. That's for sure.
I hadn't heard you mention Sumrall baseball. What happened?
Oh, I mean, they're playing Purvis in South State. How could I forget? That's part 3.
Yeah, that is part 3. That was something that championship series from last year with Sumrall still probably one of the highlights of my year last year in terms of high school sports. What a fantastic series that was. I hope they get back this year. Just a fun group to watch. Andrew, before we let you go, I really do. I want to get an update on USM football. I know it's been an off season, and I'm sure you haven't even got to know everybody yet on this new staff. But can you give us any insight into what's going on over there? All I know is that Southern Miss is going to have a very different roster this upcoming season than it had last year. How big has the overhaul been, and are you surprised with how quickly they have moved?
Yeah, I am surprised with how quickly it's been. I think I saw on Twitter there might be only 17 or maybe 20 Hall era players left, which is just crazy. And Charles Huff has been very open about it. And in many ways it kind of needed to be done. I didn't think it'd be that drastic in 1 year. They probably took, I'd say, close to 50 players in the first round of the fall portal or winter portal. And then I think they've seen more players leave than come in yet. I think they're still working on finalizing a roster. They're really thin in the defensive line. So they've been signing bodies left and right just to kind of fill it. But, he signed some really great players. I mean, some really productive mid-major group of 5 players that, it seems to work at every other aspect of college sports. So why not at Southern Miss? And, Huff has been a guy who's, he did it at Marshall, kind of perfected the transfer portal a little bit better. He's more precise with how he spends the money. There's more of a rhyme and reason. I think Hall, it was a little more, let's just see what we can get this guy and move on. So there's a lot of big differences, and this coaching staff's a lot different compared to Hall. Hall was very, very open and I would say overall easier to cover, and Huff, it's a little more hush hush. It's from the Saban-esque vibe, so it's a little tougher, but they're still forming this staff. And honestly, my biggest question mark is I don't know who's punting right now or what special teams is going to look like. They lost their punter to Tulane, who they brought from Marshall, and I don't know what the kicking situation is going to be right now. That's probably my biggest question mark next to the defensive line. I think O-line, they've got plenty of, and you add to the fact that Blake Anderson's on the staff now, and he's brought in a few of his Utah State players. It's like Utah State, Marshall, and then the remnants of Southern Miss. And, we'll see if they can come together for week 1 against Mississippi State. But it's been a lot of new faces and very hard to keep up with so far.
Andrew, the punter that they signed, was it last year or a year before from Oak Grove?
He's in the portal.
Huh? He's in the portal.
In the portal.
Oh, okay. Boy, he could kick. What a leg. He was a great kicker.
Oh, yeah. I just think Huff is set on bringing in his guys. And for what it's worth, Huff, the guys he did keep in the spring, it was all about proving that you can handle your job and that it can transfer to the field. And so it was almost like a 4-month tryout. That's probably the best way to describe it. And so the building the team part starts in July or June for them. And so that's, again, hasn't even started yet. So they're not even concerned with culture. It's all about just getting the right guys together.
It's going to be interesting, especially those first 2 ball games.
I think so. Who knows what's going to happen? That's going to be the most strangest, interesting USM Mississippi State game, because I don't think either team truly knows what they have, much less it's going to be the ultimate gauge, or is it a fair gauge? Who knows?
Well, and then that next week, Jackson State, there wasn't a lot of different. I think Jackson State would have beaten Southern handily.
I was just about to say that. I think Jackson State beat Southern Miss last year. Southern Miss struggled with a very middle-of-the-road Southeastern team. So, yeah, I think they'll take it this year. I think Southern Miss has upgraded immensely just alone at quarterback. I think Braylon Braxton, I think he was the Sun Belt Newcomer of the Year, and I think the guy behind them, Liddy, could easily start. So I think they're, what Will Hall could never do, get a starting quarterback. I think they have 2 that could easily do it. We'll see what happens. Probably my biggest question mark is the defense right now, just because of the bodies and whatnot. But I think the offense is going to produce. I think they're deep at receiver. I think when they get healthy at running back, they're going to be pretty salty. And I think the O-line, it'll be a little thin, but I think the starting 5 are going to be very much better than what we've seen the last few years.
So we'll go back to the Fedora era where you just try to outscore everybody.
It's possible, but Huff is a guy who's prided himself on defense, and that's his defensive coordinator from Marshall. And I would argue that was more of their marquee thing than the offense. So we'll see what happens. And it's going to be a little bit of a different offense too for Huff, since it's Blake Henderson's offense, and it's more sling it rather than ground and pound. So we'll see how that works as well. But it'll be an interesting season. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I think Southern Miss fans would settle for the last Blake Anderson offense they saw in Hattiesburg and the results from the Fedora era, for the record. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us, man. We won't keep you any longer. I know you're a busy guy. Before you get out of here, I will ask you, how is Humphrey?
He's good. He tried to jump up on my lap while I was doing this thing, and I was like, dude, you gotta let Dad work.
I know,
for those who don't know, Humphrey's my little wiener dog, or as I like to say, my assistant sports editor.
Yeah, well, Rick loves a wiener dog. I had to ask.
Yeah, keep doing good work, Andrew.
Appreciate it, Rick.
Have a good one, bud.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks again to Andrew for joining us, and thanks to you for tuning in this week and listening to the Crooked Letter Sports podcast. We've got a lot going on this weekend, Dad. That series between Ole Miss and State. You and I are off to New Orleans to celebrate Mother's Day and Mom's birthday.
It's a doubleheader.
It is a double. It's a doubleheader every year.
Yeah. Let's hope we sweep.
Yeah. I hope so too, buddy. Y'all stay safe out there. We'll talk to you next time in this week. You can keep up with all of Rick's latest writings at MississippiToday.org. Have a good one, everyone.